Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh and with me in the studio is Rajni. And this special edition of the broadcast will be getting you updates from around the world. Imran Khan will be released on bail as the Islamabad High Court has suspended the former Prime Minister's conviction and 3-year prison term in the Tosha Khana case. Now, earlier in the month, the court had sentenced Imran Khan for 3 years in prison. Pakistan's Election Commission had also barred Imran Khan from contesting the elections for a period of 5 years. The uncertainty over whether Imran Khan will be released as a result of the High Court's decision is still unclear. China on Monday yet again officially released the 2023 edition of its so-called standard map. And the map has incorporated its claims over the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh, or the Indian territory of Aksai Chin, and Taiwan, and also the South China Sea. Now, India maintains that the state of Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of the country. The China's move is being seen as a response to India holding events in the lead up to the G20 summit in Jammu and Kashmir. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called for strengthening the country's naval forces on Tuesday. The leader in fact accused the United States of turning waters near the Korean peninsula into the most unstable waters with the danger of a nuclear war. In a speech to mark the Navy Day, Kim Jong-un said that the United States, Japan and South Korea have announced regular joint military exercises. North Korean state media released still photographs of Kim visiting the naval command of the Korean People's Army and giving a speech. South Korean and the US Special Command troops conducted a joint maritime infiltration training on Monday. The joint exercise was conducted as part of the Ulchi Freedom Shield exercises, and about 100 US and South Korean soldiers were in fact mobilized for the drills of South Korea's coast in Yangyang County. The joint Ulchi exercises from the 21st till the 31st of August are designed to enhance responses to North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. South Korea's military has said that this year's exercises will be held on the largest scale ever. The drills in fact involve tens of thousands of troops from both sides, as well as some other member states of the UN command. China's Ministry of Commerce and the US Department of Commerce have announced the establishment of a working group to seek solutions to specific business issues between the two nations. Now, the working group, composed of deputy ministerial and bureau-level government officials from both China and the United States, will hold deputy ministerial level meetings twice a year. The agreement came during a US Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo's trip to China. Additionally, the two sides have initiated an export control information exchange mechanism, and this serves as a mechanism for explaining the respective export control systems and improving communications. Now, a US judge has set the 4th of March 2024 as the trial date for Donald Trump in a federal case in Washington on Monday. The case charges the former president with trying to overturn the results of the 2020 elections. The US District Judge Tanya Chutkan's decision denies a defense request to push the trial back until April 2026. The request, in fact, is intent on pushing the date about a year and a half after the 2024 elections. Now, the court's decision also sets the trial later than the January date proposed by Special Counsel Jack Smith's team. A burning helicopter crashed into an apartment complex in Pompano Beach, Florida on Monday. The helicopter crash resulted in 2 people getting killed and at least about 4 others getting injured. The dramatic crash was captured by an eyewitness at a site. Now, one of the victims has been identified as firefighter Captain Tenzin Jackson, who was on board. The other victim was a woman who was in fact on the ground when the accident happened. The helicopter, identified as a Eurocopter EC-135, collided with the building, leaving a sizable hole in the roof, emitting smoke and also burnt debris. The Greek Coast Guard rescued nearly about 23 people in the Turkish waters in the early hours of Monday, and 4 of them later died. The 4 migrant children in fact drowned off the Greek island of Lesbos on Monday. They were an 8-year-old boy and 3 girls aged 14, 8 and another one was just 11 months old. In another incident, 1 woman drowned off the island of Samos. And authorities tried to rescue the woman who was with a child, but she died despite the efforts. In both of these incidents, the people were in fact trying to cross the sea from nearby Turkey to migrate into Greece. Mexican Navy has seized 4,400 metric tons of cocaine during the high-speed chases at sea on Monday. Now, during the 2 separate operations on the 22nd of August and the 23rd in the Pacific Ocean, the Navy also found 5,200 litres of fuel and detained about 11 people. The detainees were handed over to the prosecutor's office. Mexico is one of the largest movers of cocaine in the world, and authorities continue to crack down on drug cartels in the nation. Motorcycle, bus and car drivers took to the streets of Bogota on Monday to protest against the rising gasoline prices. The demonstrators in fact expressed their dismay over the gradual increase in the price of gasoline. The Colombian government indicated the price rise as part of an initiative to close the deficit of Fuel Price Stabilization Fund. In the last few months, the price of a gallon has gone up from $2 to $3.5. and is expected to reach about $4 per gallon in the next 3 months. A group of Egyptian politicians have challenged President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and have said that they were considering challenging him in the upcoming elections. The Free Current Movement Party was in fact formed this summer from a collection of liberal opposition groups who say that their main issue is the country's deteriorating economy. Now, the group spokesperson Hisham Qasem was in fact arrested on charges of slander and verbal assault last week and remains in prison. However, the coalition is not seen as a major threat to Sisi, who is expected to run for his 3rd term in the elections next year. Now, the chief of Sudan's paramilitary forces have said that it is open to a long-term ceasefire plan with the Sudanese armed forces. Now, Sudan has in fact been witnessing deadly clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary force since April. The conflict has displaced millions of people, and it still lingers on in the region and has failed to reach a truce so far. However, the paramilitary chief Mohammed Hamdan Daglo posted an article recently showing his willingness to work towards a long-term ceasefire. The protest against the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's government continues to intensify with no signs of abating. The protests in fact began in Dara and Swedia provinces 10 days ago after the government ended fuel subsidies. The subsidy in fact dealt a heavy blow to the Syrians who are reeling from years of war and economic crisis. dozens of people demonstrated, openly calling for an immediate end to Bashar al-Assad's rule. Similarly, there were other protests that were also held in at least 8 other places in the provinces. The tropical storm Idalia intensified and is expected to be a major hurricane when it reaches Florida's Gulf Coast later this week. The officials have declared a state of emergency in at least a dozen counties and have ordered for evacuations in preparation for potentially life-threatening storm surges in the wake of Storm Idalia. The Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has warned of a major impact to the state, noting that what was though originally forecast to be nothing stronger than a tropical storm is now predicted to become a Category 3 hurricane. With wildfires intensifying, now volunteers from Athens have in fact put their own money towards early warning drones to predict and even perhaps to stop the wildfires. The towering wall of flames continue to devour forests, farmland and homes, forcing animals and people to flee for their lives. In the last week alone, wildfires have resulted in deaths of at least about 21 people in Greece. With hot, dry summers, Greece and its southern European neighbours are experiencing hundreds of devastating wildfires every single year. Meanwhile, Slovenia is facing another rainstorm just weeks after flash floods killed several people. The small alpine country was hit with a rainstorm which flooded coastal areas within a few hours. The city of Koper was severely hit and its main square and historical area in downtown were flooded in just a matter of minutes. The lightning in fact struck a fireman outside Koper and approximately 1,000 residents had to be evacuated from the wider Koper area. And flash floods and landslides battered northern Italy on Monday. Roads overlooking Lake Como were blocked as severe storms in fact hit the area. In the most recent deluge, torrential rains also triggered a landslide in Blevio, located in the province of Como in northern Italy. The flash floods have also struck places such as Genoa and Sondrio. Authorities have said that the cleanup operation was underway in the affected cities. A significant flood risk still remains in Piedmont and Lombardy. A huge rock slide in the Maurienne Valley of the French Alps on Monday. Train services between France and Italy were halted until Thursday, the earliest, after the landslide blocked some roads. The officials have said that the landslide forced the suspension of all cross-border trains on the Chambéry-Turin lane. At least about 10 regional trains in the Maurienne Valley were disrupted. Now, the Indian state of Kerala is celebrating the annual festival of Onam with full pomp and joy. Onam is the annual harvest festival in Kerala, and devotees throng to temples to offer their prayers. The faithful devotees in fact thronged to the temples and oil lamps were lit up in temple complexes. The flowers also decorated the outdoors of the temples. Specially trained dogs are helping German archaeologists unearth treasures at the ancient excavation sites. The archaeologists are using the nose of these sniffer dogs to sniff out bones which are as old as 3,000 years. The elite canine team was called on to help at a dig site in Germany's northern Bay freezing. The 2 years of training is in fact needed for a dog to become an archaeodog. And not just archaeologists, some of the dogs receive additional training to help police with cold cases as well. Now, the US Military Academy at West Point unboxed a 200-year-old time capsule. The Academy found no apparent contents in the capsule, which was recently discovered inside the base of one of their monuments. Now, the capsule was believed to have in fact been left by cadets in the 1820s. And experts who examined the capsule said that the box didn't meet their expectations. A team will collect a layer of silt from the bottom of the box to see if they can in fact find any remains in it. A 37-foot hand-carved totem pole of a Canadian First Nation community is all set to be transferred from a museum in Edinburgh. The totem pole was picked nearly about a century ago and it was put on display at the museum. The pole was blessed in a spiritual ceremony ahead of its return to its place of origin. The pole arrived in Scotland in 1929 after standing on the banks of the Nass River for nearly 70 years. The Nisga'a Nation representatives requested for the pole's return after it was taken without consent, before being sold to the museum in 1929. Meanwhile, the first worm that was alive was found inside of a woman's brain in Australia. The parasitic roundworm, which is typically found in snakes, was pulled alive and wriggling from a woman's brain on Tuesday. The baffled doctors performed an MRI scan on a 64-year-old Australian woman after she began suffering from memory lapses and also noticed an atypical lesion at the front part of her brain. The doctor Sanjaya Senanayake, who was involved in the exploratory surgery, recounts his experience and explains the case. The jet leasing firm Aviles, founded in 2022 by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, will purchase Standard Chartered's aircraft leasing business for about $3.6 billion. Now, according to a statement that was released on Monday, the deal includes the purchase of a portfolio of 100 narrow-bodied aircraft that are currently at lease to several airlines. Now, the agreement is scheduled to complete in the October-December quarter this year, and the new agreement will boost Saudi Arabia's aviation industry, specifically Vision 2030's economic diversification plans. Meanwhile, in a showdown over pay and conditions, Chevrons' major liquefied natural gas production facilities are on the brink of disruption. Unions have threatened work stoppages, putting Chevrons' Gorgon and Wheatstone projects at risk. Now, these projects collectively contribute to over 5% of the world's LNG capacity. The potential strikes have already sent shockwaves through the global markets, causing European natural gas prices to surge. Now, the Offshore Alliance, representing the Maritime Union of Australia and the Australian Workers' Union, demands for a better deal. New Zealand will present legislation this week to charge a digital services tax on major international tech firms starting in 2025. Now, the Finance Minister Grant Robertson said that multinational companies that earn over $810 million from worldwide digital services and over $2 million from New Zealand will pay the new charge. Governments worldwide worry that Google and Facebook don't pay enough taxes and that Google tax standards don't reflect their business models. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.